Chapter 4, The Pull. It was raining when I pulled the trigger. .44 Magnum, right hand steady. Night sight eyes locking onto the last one, sprinting between busted storefronts and burning glass. Big bastard. Mottled skin, like burlap pulled over muscle. Too many mouths. Too many limbs. Didn't matter. One shot cracked the dark. Boom. Spine severed. It crumpled mid-screech, half its jaw flapping on concrete. I exhaled. Holstered the Magnum. Blood in the gutters. Smoke in the air. Screams fading. Sorry, freaks of nature, I muttered, stepping over a ruptured car hood, but Lancaster doesn't fall today. Earth never loses. I turned toward the firelit skyline. Not when the Vandukes are here. I'd been fighting for 3 days straight. The local tier between planes was small enough for tactical entry but wide enough to leak these walking ulcers from whatever hell forgot them. Street rat, they called me. Johnny to those who really knew me. The one born too low, bitten too hard, laughed too loud. The one who didn't just survive the network. I broke it open. For us, anyway. The multiverse was a mess. And it was ours to clean. Then something went wrong. I was standing near City Hall, what was left of it, when the air bent. Hard. Fast. No time to react. No sound. No light. Just force. Then silence. And when I blinked, I was on a rooftop. Flat gravel. Neon haze. The smell of static and soap in the air. Old buildings with clean bricks. Street lights in perfect rows. Lancaster. But not mine. Too pristine. Too quiet. I scanned the skyline, nothing burning. No sirens. No chaos. Just stillness. And then I felt it. Deep in my spine. Like a door had slammed shut in my chest. No. I tried to blink in. Nothing. Tried to link into the multiversal net, dead. Like the signal had been smothered. I'm locked out. I clenched my fists. Looked down at my palm. The call sign didn't glow. No access. No anchor. No network. Well, I muttered, checking the Magnum again, guess I'm not home anymore. The rain had stopped. The sky above was too clean. And somewhere in this timeline, something was pretending it had already won. But I was here now. And the Vandukes don't do surrender. I crouched near the edge of the rooftop, eyes sweeping across the city I'd fought tooth and nail to protect 1,000 times before, except this wasn't it. It looked like Lancaster. Same grid. Same courthouse dome. Same old church spires lining the horizon like teeth in a polite, smiling mouth. No smoke. No blood. No screaming. Just calm. Too calm. Huh? I breathed, squinting at a passing patrol drone too sleek, too quiet to be anything from my timeline. Looks like I landed in paradise. A pigeon fluttered by. Lantern glow street lamps flickered on below like they had a bedtime. Even the billboards cycled like they knew when you were looking. But my hands still twitched on the grip of the magnum. But why am I here? I muttered, dragging my gaze down to a row of perfect townhouses, too clean, too symmetrical. Normally, when the network yanks me mid-fight, it's for a reason. A crisis. A monster blooming out of time like a cancer cell wearing a god's face. Something broken, loud, and bleeding wrong. But this place looked like it had never bled. No fangs in the sky. No soul-sick air. No eldritch whisper chewing through the clouds. I paused, cocking my head. This isn't how the multiverse pulls. Not unless it's trying to hide something from me. Or someone down here is masking the signal intentionally. That would mean they know about the network. Know how to block me. Which isn't supposed to be possible. I tried to blink again. Tried to punch through with raw will. Nothing. Like the multiverse wasn't broken, it was just disinterested. All right then, I said to the wind, standing up slow, magnum heavy on my thigh, if this really is paradise. My eyes scanned the distance, zeroing in on a clean municipal building at the far end of King Street. Too clean. Who's the sick bastard that's keeping it so perfect? Because this wasn't peace. This was a display. And someone in this timeline was hiding the price tag. I dropped down clean. Boots hit gravel, knees soft, code flared behind me like the landing was rehearsed. No alarms. No watchers. Just the low buzz of halogen and the whisper of air filtration units overhead. The alley stank of disinfectant and warm grease. Not rot. Not blood. Not the things I was used to. Still. I walked slow. One hand brushed the magnum grip, the other free. About 20 feet ahead, nestled between two polished brick complexes, stood a 24/7 food stand glowing softly, humming a tune I couldn't place. And painted above the awning in bold, cheerful font. Government-sponsored nutrition hub. Feeding you, feeding freedom. I stopped. Blinked. Tilted my head slightly. Okay. That's not normal. Even in the tighter timelines, the ones with some sense of order, I've never seen a place proud enough to slap a flag on a food cart. I approached. Steam hissed from the vent pipe. A screen lit up as I stepped closer, taking my biometric read before I could stop it. The vendor, some blank-eyed teen with a glitched smile, handed a sealed bowl out before I even ordered. First-timer meal. Beef-based stew. High protein, low guilt, he said, voice just slightly too flat. Government approved. Eat up. I took it. Didn't smile. Didn't blink. Didn't eat. Instead, I flicked open a tiny scan node in my glove, passive, silent, buried in the lining. The readout blinked red. Twice. Trace organ matter. Bone marrow peptides. Human DNA strand markers, at least 3 kinds. My stomach stayed still. Not because I'm immune to shock, but because I've seen this before. I just didn't expect to see it in a place that looked this safe. Thanks, I said, casual as a whisper, slipping the bowl into my coat. Big fan of government flavor. The vendor laughed. Too long. Then reset. No eye contact. I walked away. Didn't run. Didn't panic. I just walked. Because the moment you show you know something, you're in a different game. And I needed to stay invisible just a little longer. Because if this is what they're handing out on the street, I can't imagine what's in the banquet halls. I kept walking. Steam from the food stand still clinging to my coat, boot heels ticking against the smooth sidewalk like I wasn't quietly spiraling inside. Human meat. Not disguised. Not black market. Government sponsored. And no one blinked. No one whispered. No one protested. They just ate. I crossed King Street, ducked into the shadow of a flower kiosk. Vendor waved. I nodded. Crowd moved like clockwork. Happy. Well fed. Oblivious. No way, I muttered under my breath, sliding my thumb over the scanner again. Just a quick sweep. Passive field, top layer of biodata, barely a tickle to the nervous system. Standard issue for field-level Vandukes like me. The results pinged in less than a second. All normal. Cortisol levels steady. No signs of nutrient deficiency. Gut flora consistent with long-term protein assimilation. No bone sickness, no regression markers, no chenic erosion, the kind of long-term damage that always shows up in populations fed human meat without adaptation. The hell? I scanned again. Different cluster. A group of teens in school uniforms, sipping from government-branded drink pouches. Clean. Stable. Untouched. No elevated neural inflammation, no protein density mismatches, no self-cannibalism loops. I froze. These people aren't just eating it. They've been eating it for generations and it's not affecting them. Which should be impossible. Generational cannibalism breaks a species. It hollows the DNA. Turns memory to mush. Breaks bones from the inside out. Turns the meat against itself. But here? Nothing. Just a perfectly balanced, smiling crowd. I scanned another group. And another. All clean. All normal. No signs of tampering. No signs of forced adaptation. This doesn't make sense. Either someone figured out how to purify human meat for consumption at scale, or these people aren't entirely human. And that thought, that's what made me check the air. And when I did, my scanner hit null feedback. Like the entire biosphere had been scrubbed of identifiers. Oh, no. This isn't a paradise. This is a refined ecosystem. Not a city. A farm. And I'm standing in the middle of it. Uninvited. Unconnected. Unarmed, if this place decides to turn. I grip the magnum. I need to find out who's in charge. And I need to do it before they notice I'm not supposed to be smiling. But then the moment the call sign pulsed, I knew something had cracked. Not just the usual ping. Not a glitch. Not an identity lock. This was different. It vibrated up my arm, violent, frantic. The rune inside my palm flared bright and sharp, flickering like a damaged broadcast on fire. Then the voice kicked in. Anomaly detected. Monster detected. Cryptid, non-multiversal, cannibalistic class. Error. Number of entities, error. Too many, to determine while separated from network. I froze mid-step. Around me, people strolled by, smiling, chatting, holding shopping bags and little dogs and cheap ice cream cones. Nothing changed. No one turned to look. No shadows shifted. But I could feel it now. That subtle shift. That flicker in the air between moments. "You're kidding me," I whispered. I triggered the olfactory augment, let the filters pull back, let the raw scent profile hit. And there it was. Rot. Not external. Not death. Internal. The kind of rot that builds inside a being that feeds on human meat too long. The bile-heavy stink of recycled marrow, fermented soul flesh, tissue cells that were never meant to loop through a body twice. Most people couldn't smell it. But I could. It was faint, muted beneath deodorant and perfume and engineered pheromones. But it was there. Sour. Old. Wrong. I scanned the crowd again, now with purpose. Not just looking. Seeing. I triggered ethereal vision. Dim, weak, disconnected without the main network. But still enough to peel the first layer of illusion back. And what I saw made my jaw clench. Not all of them. But some. The man at the bench, reading the newspaper. His pupils weren't black, they were spinning. Red rings circling a dead core like a well of old hunger. The girl sipping juice through a straw, laughing on the phone. Her smile never reached her cheeks. And behind her sunglasses red. Black. Pulsing. I turned slowly. They were scattered. Not clumped. Not glaring. Just watching. Living among the others. Feeding quietly. And the humans. They had no idea. Because they weren't prey anymore. They were stock. You've got to be kidding me. I took a step back into the alley, back into shadow. This wasn't a city. It was a feeding rotation. A perfectly engineered ecosystem where the monsters wore skin and the food thanked them. And if this place had too many for my disconnected system to even count, that meant one thing. This was no glitch in the multiverse. This was a nest. And I was already inside it. Don't make a scene, I muttered, slipping further into shadow. No one'll believe you anyway. Not here. Not in paradise. Not where the soup is hot, the streets are quiet, and the ghouls wear smiles like silk. I stepped back into the crowd slow, calm, unarmed to the eye. The call sign dimmed, still twitching like it wanted to scream but knew better. Besides, I whispered, brushing the magnum under my coat, I don't even know what those things are. The red and black eyes were still scattered in the flow of people. Too many to tag. Too many to isolate. So I picked one. The woman in the beige coat. Late 30s. Slick hair. Shopping bag. Walks like she's practiced being watched. But her eyes. They glitched when she blinked. Too slow. The red didn't fade fast enough. She turned down a side street, and I followed. Not close. Not obvious. Crowd blend. Classic pursuit pattern, two behind, one cross angle, alternating pace. Simple. I stuck to the storefront reflections. Watched her drift through the flow like a ghost that never forgot how to smile. She passed a mother with a stroller, didn't glance. Past a food hub, didn't flinch. Then turned down a maintenance corridor behind a clean civic building. There it is. I slipped in 5 seconds behind her, silent, hard pacing like a sniper's breath. The corridor was tight. Steel access doors. No signage. Concrete smell layered with sterilizer. No security cams I could see, but I knew that didn't mean anything here. I leaned against the corner wall. Listened. Nothing. Then the click of a lock. A hiss of air pressure. Door opening. I peeked around just enough to see her slide into a door labeled Authorized Logistics, Tier 3 access only. The door closed behind her. No key card. No retinal scan. Just a whisper of acceptance from whatever system ran this nest. Got you, I murmured. I backed out slow. Didn't follow, not yet. No. If I was going to learn what these things were, I needed to see where they sleep, where they feed, where they stop pretending. Because no matter how shiny the streets are, every predator needs a place to drop the mask. And I was going to find it, even if I had to dig into the bones of the city to do it. I waited. Back pressed to the alley wall, rain tapping soft on the fire escape above, breath locked and steady. The access door hissed again, faint and clean, like this place didn't believe in slamming. She stepped out, just like before. Beige coat. Soft footsteps. No rush. But this time, I moved. Fast. Silent. Final. The magnum came up, cold steel pressed to the base of her skull before she even had time to lie. "What the hell are you?" I growled. She froze. Hands half raised. Shoulders tight. "WH, what are you talking about? I'm just a nobody, I was just." "Oh no. You're not just a nobody," I hissed, stepping closer, keeping the barrel firm against bone. "The food out here's laced with human meat. Your eyes glow red and black when the skin glitches. My scanner says your biology's unstable, can mutate in real time." Her breathing sharpened. Her heartbeat didn't change. "What the hell are you things?" Then, her voice dropped the mask. "You shouldn't have come here." And everything broke. She twisted like a rope being pulled from both ends. Her coat split open, arms dislocating and reforming into something longer, slicker, bones flexing like they were made of wire and rage. Her jaw unhinged sideways, not wide, long, like a serpent grin stretching to her collarbones. I leapt back, just as her palm speared out into a needle spike narrow enough to pierce skulls. Boom. The magnum roared, first shot grazing her shoulder. The pop of cartilage shattering echoed down the alley. She didn't flinch. Didn't scream. She shifted, ribs expanding, skin crawling over itself like wet fabric, eyes now full black with rings inside rings of red. She launched. Fast. Faster than anything from my world. I twisted, backpedaled, holstered the magnum mid-motion, hands coming up wide. Fought close now. Let her come in. Elbow caught her under the chin, her neck bent sideways like a tree caught in wind. She laughed. Voice two-toned. "You're out of place, outsider. This is a clean world. We don't tolerate disruption." "Yeah." I spat blood, grinning. "Then you're gonna hate me." She surged again, fingers reshaping into a jagged claw. And I dragged her down with me. Into the gravel. Into fists. Into war. Because now, I didn't need answers. I needed leverage. And I was going to rip it out of her if I had to. "This is gonna hurt me just as much as it hurts you," I muttered, half to her, half to myself. The needle spike she'd formed out of her wrist, it wasn't just bone. It was something living, something twitching with feedback. It pulsed in my grip like a nervous system had been rerouted into weaponry. "Smart meat." She grinned through rows of split teeth, trying to jam it deeper. "You don't understand, this form feeds on impact. You're just helping em." "Shut up." I tightened my grip, planting my boot to the ground, shoulders squared. And then I pulled. Raw, deliberate. Flesh tore. Tendon snapped. Slick cartilage peeled like it didn't want to let go, like it still thought it was part of her. She screamed, finally. A wet, guttural scream that echoed off alley walls and buzzed my eardrums like broken radio static. But I didn't stop. Wouldn't. I pulled until the spike came loose in my hand, dripping, twitching, writhing like a living blade trying to remember what it was. Her entire arm collapsed, structure folding inward like jelly spilling from a broken mold. She fell to her knees, hissing, face split with rage and something close to fear. "You shouldn't be able to do that," she rasped. "Yeah, well, I've made a career out of doing things I shouldn't." I raised the spike now in my hand, dripping with her own blood or whatever passed for it. It didn't just tremble, it screamed inside my skull. A memory echo. Like the weapon was bound to her identity. "So let's make this simple," I said, stepping in close, magnum now pressed gently under her chin, spike ready in my other hand. "You tell me what you are, or I start pulling the rest of you apart." She blinked once. And behind those red-black eyes, something ancient, and cold, and clever, started calculating. Her mouth twitched, just about to speak. Her lips trembled with the edge of something ancient, something too big for words. Her broken arm dangled, twitching. I tightened the grip on the spike. "Talk," I said again, quieter now. "Last chance." And then, crack. Not the low, thunderous bark of my magnum. A sharper sound. High velocity. Scoped. Precision. The back of her skull bloomed in an instant. Red mist. Bone shatter. The sound of her jaw trying to finish a sentence that would never exist. She collapsed like a puppet with the strings cut. A twitch. Then nothing. I froze. The alley echoed with silence, that horrible kind of silence that only comes after a controlled kill. I hit the wall. Back tight. Magnum up. Eyes scanning the skyline. Nothing. No glint of glass. No barrel light. No rooftop shimmer. But the angle? The precision? That was not random. "Damn it," I hissed, crouching low, scanning her corpse. Someone didn't want her talking. I checked the wound clean. A perfect cranial shot. Entry just behind the left eye. Purposeful. She wasn't just silenced. She was intercepted. I felt the call sign hum again, weak but pulsing like a dying star. "This place doesn't just have monsters," I murmured. "It's got handlers." Someone was watching. Someone knew exactly what I was doing. And someone had just reminded me that I'm not hunting alone out here. I'm being hunted too. I backed into the alley shadow, spike still dripping in my grip. "All right then," I whispered to the dark. Let's see how many of you bastards bleed when the playbook burns.